And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Anthwood Movie Mania. And we are live because it is interview time. Now, my special guest today has won multiple awards for Best Screenwriter, Best Screenplay. He has written the screenplay for Texas Chainsaw 3D and also written and directed Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, which I cannot wait to get into, and everything else along the way. So I would like to welcome to the channel Adam Marcus.
Hey, yo.
I hope that was a good intro.
Fantastic. Loved it. Loved everything about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so before we get into it, again, I always like to say this because it means the world to me that, like, for a small channel like myself, just a big thank you for coming on, just talking about your career, everything that you've done, and just shooting the breeze like in between and we talk. So again, a big thank you.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, and thank you for asking me to be here. I'm always more interested in supporting a small channel, because truth be told, if people like me don't do that, then nobody gets to rise up and get an audience that they deserve.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like, I don't do it for like fame and like money and everything. Sure. I just do it because, you know, I love to do like collection videos, rankings, like talk about horror movies, and like I find it so interesting when I get people on like yourself, just learning about their careers and like what they've done, and that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully, anyway, if I don't mess up. So my first question of the day is, how is your day going?
Oh, brilliantly. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. I took a nice long walk, did some business calls before this, and no, it's kind of amazing. I'm writing a new screenplay right now that we're going to be shooting at the end of the year that I'm very excited about, and it's it's a really cool movie, and it's one of those rare times when usually when you're writing, you end up hating your material about halfway through. Like, you just go, oh, why am I writing this? This is garbage. And this is a rare moment where I'm a little over halfway through and I love what I'm writing. So that's always really exciting for me.
Just quickly, what can you give us a little hint of what you are writing at the minute?
Yeah, the movie that I'm writing right now, which will be the next film that I'm directing, is called How to Survive a Game Night. And it's a very crass, violent, dirty version of an Agatha Christie murder mystery that all takes place in one night, between a bunch of friends that are in a game night group. And one of them has been murdered. And the game that they're playing is to find out who the murderer is, because somebody at the table is the murderer. And it is Knives Out, but with actual knives.
Sounds really interesting.
Thanks, man. Nice. It's you know, I don't know if you've seen Secret Santa, which was the last film that I directed. I produced stuff since then, but the last film I directed was Secret Santa, and that movie is a Christmas haramedy. And it's actually one of my most awarded films. We've won a lot of awards for that movie. And that movie it's a Christmas haramedy. So it's comedy and horror, which is really my favorite thing to play in. So it mixes those two genres. So the new movie is similar in that it is a haramedy.
Well, that sounds really interesting. I'll have to keep my eye out when it's there. When do you expect it to be done?
Well, we're gonna be shooting the end of the year, beginning of next year, so I'm hoping to have it finished about a year from now.
Oh, well, everyone mark it in your calendars when you're watching.
Absolutely.
Right. So before we get into Friday the 13th and everything,
sure.
Just take us a little bit back.
Okay.
What made you want to study films?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was very lucky in the way that I grew up. I grew up in a small town in Connecticut, in the Northeast. a little place called Westport, Connecticut. And I was born in New York City, but my mom lived in Connecticut. My dad lived in New York. So I kind of bounced back between the two. But this little town in Connecticut was really a remarkable place because we lived right down the street from Paul Newman. I used to sing at Martha Stewart's house on Christmas. I mean, it was, Neil Simon lived in town. It was kind of a remarkable spot. And my family were all in the arts. So most of my family were actors, were Broadway performers. And my uncle Ned was, you would recognize him do you like The Burning, the movie The Burning?
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, you should check that out. If you love horror movies, oh, dude, you should see The Burning. He's one of the stars of The Burning. He's also one of those guys that was in over 100 episodes of Law and Order. So the minute you see his face, you're like, oh, I know that guy. Like, he's that guy. So a guy named Ned Eisenberg, he played Eddie in The Burning. And then my other uncle, Joe, he wrote, directed, and produced Don't Go in the House, which was a huge horror hit in the early 80s. So I had a lot of that kind of around me. Now, my family all wished that I had gone into law. They all wanted me to be a lawyer. Mostly because I can argue well, I think. But I had different plans. So when, much like many people my age, when I was 9 years old, I was there for the second day of the second day showings of Star Wars, of the original Star Wars. And I sat there with my dad. He came in from New York to take me out to this little movie theater in Westport to see it. He had already seen it in New York the night before, so he's seeing it for the second time. And I sat in the theater. And the minute that the Tantive 4 flies overhead, followed by the Star Destroyer, I like my brain exploded, and I was like, "What is that?" And I pointed at the screen. My dad tells the story all the time. I pointed in the screen and I said, "I want to do that." And my dad, because I was 9, my dad said, "Oh, you want to be an astronaut?" And I was like, no, I want to make that. And I can legitimately tell you, from that day till this very day, I have not spent one day of my life not pursuing filmmaking, not making movies. Like, it's been everything. So my best friend in grade school was a kid named Noel Cunningham. And the rumor was that his dad was a filmmaker and that he had made a porn movie. And nothing sparks the imagination of a 9-year-old more than, like, your dad made porn. And it's funny because Sean Cunningham did make a porn movie called Together. He discovered Marilyn Chambers, who actually went to my high school, was a giant porn star. And my best friend Noel played Marilyn Chambers' love child in that porn movie. So he was a baby. They needed a baby for a scene. And there was my friend Noel. So Noel got his start in porn. And that Sean had also made this movie, Last House on the Left, which was notorious at that point. You know, everybody knew about that movie. And so I was so fascinated by this that I started hanging out at Noel's house and following his dad around like some bad puppy. And I would never leave his side, and I wanted to know everything. And by the time I was 10 years old, and I was 11, actually. I was 11 when I was on the set of the original Friday 13th. And I learned how to screenwrite at 11 years old because Sean taught me. So I got this kind of incredible education really early on about filmmaking from my family and now from Sean Cunningham. And then there were all these other influences around me in the town that I grew up in. So by the time I was 13, I was apprentice editing on Spring Break for Columbia Pictures, which was a movie Sean directed. And his wife, Susan, was editing. And Susan was she was like a second mother to me. I adored her. And so, and I'm working on this completely inappropriate movie for a 13-year-old boy to be working on. It's literally like wall-to-wall boobs. That's all the movie is. It's not a good movie, but it's just a lot of boobies. And so as a 13-year-old, I always joke that, like, I walked into the editing room a boy, I came out a man. So I did that. And then by the age of 15, I created my first of 2 theater companies. And I directed, choreographed, or acted in over 70 plays in 6 years.
God.
And because of where I lived, we made money in theater. Like my high school was built, the school itself was built around a pre-existing theater. And it's a theater where Janis Joplin had played, where Jim Morrison had played, where Jimi Hendrix had played. So it was like a major place. And they built the high school around that theater. And our theater paid for all of like the football programs. Like we paid for all the sports, not the other way around. And so I was able to make enough money from the time I was 15 to 21 that I was able to put myself through school at NYU, at NYU Film School. And while I was at NYU, I won Best Picture for a romantic comedy called So You Like This Girl. And Sean Cunningham saw it, as did David Lynch. So I got 2 job offers. One was from David Lynch to work in the writer's room on season 2 of Twin Peaks. And the other job offer was from Sean Cunningham, who was like, look, come to LA, be my bitch for a year, and I'll give you your shot. And I went, okay, cool. Like, done. So I got to Los Angeles and I started working for Sean.
I know you kind of answered a couple of my following questions.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, so like, but one of my questions was going to be, like, one of my questions was going to be, like, what was that light bulb moment where you knew that you wanted to do film? And you answered with the Star Wars question.
Yeah, that was it, man.
But yeah, so you won Best Picture for So You Like This Girl.
I did.
What was it like receiving that award and getting that acknowledgement for doing it?
It was amazing because, look, here's the thing. By the way, I loved my education at NYU. The thing about there are 3 film schools in North America at that time that were the big film schools, right? There was, if you wanted to be a writer, you went to UCLA. If you wanted to be a producer, you went to USC for the Peter Stark program. But if you wanted to be a director, you went to NYU. NYU was the directing school. And so from the time I was about 10 or 11, I said, I'm going to NYU. Like, it wasn't even a question. Like, I'm going to go to that film school. I was not the typical NYU student in that I was pretentious as hell. So that was perfect. That worked. But I wanted to make populist movies. I wanted to make films that Hollywood would want to make. And NYU was really much more experimental. It believes in the auteur theory, which I think is bullshit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, one person makes a movie. That's not true. I wanted to make movies that were funny and scary. And, my favorite films are horror movies, comedies, and musicals. Truly. My favorite film of all time is All That Jazz, is Bob Fosse's movie, All That Jazz. And so I'm not the typical NYU student. So when I made So You Like This Girl, it's a teen romantic comedy with a lot of like abusive language. And I mean, it's really out there. And I never thought I was going to win anything at NYU. Like, I was like, look, and by the way, I made 21 movies while I was in NYU. That's what's wonderful about that school. You never stop shooting films. Like, I made so many movies. And this was my final film, and it was the only film that was up for awards. Like, I had won some documentary stuff that I had done, but this was, this was my first real, narrative. And I never thought anybody would look at it twice. It was just a movie I wanted to make. And when we won Best Picture, we didn't just win Best Picture. We won a cinematography award for the film, which was beautifully shot by a guy named David Emmerichs, who to this day is James Cameron's A-camera operator. The guy's had an incredible career. So the movie won a cinematography award, and for the first time in NYU's history, it won an ensemble cast award. So the entire cast of the movie won an award for their acting. Every single person in the movie. Wow. It was crazy. So I made this movie that punched through in the weirdest way. Now, here's what's nuts about it. I swept the awards. The dean of the school would not bring my film to Los Angeles to screen it because it wasn't NYU enough. Swear to God. And I was like, What does that mean, man? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't shoot it in black and white with foreign subtitles and have people sipping little cups of coffee. Like, it's not a good enough movie now. But that's kind of true at that time. Now I think NYU's changed tremendously in regards to that. But, I made a popular movie and that won me awards, which was incredible and gratifying. And I never expected it.
Oh, wow. You, like you said there, you previously worked with Sean Cunningham and you directed My Boyfriend's Back. What was it like?
No, I didn't direct My Boyfriend's Back. I produced it.
Oh, produced it. All right.
I produced that. Yeah.
What was it like working with Sean Cunningham for the first time? We'll get into the second time later.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So I brought a screenplay to LA called Johnny Zombie when I first came here to work for Sean, when I was his bitch. And I really wanted to get this thing made. I pulled some shenanigans to get Sean to want to read it because I got Roger Corman's wife, Julie Corman, interested in the screenplay. Okay. The minute Sean heard someone else wanted my movie, he immediately wanted to see it. So I knew he would do that, which is the only reason I went to the Cormans. So Sean read the script, brings me into his office and says, I hate this script. Okay. He said, but I love the title. So I'm going to give you $1.5 million and you'll go shoot it in Connecticut. And I was like, excuse me, I'm going to do what now? Like, what's happening? But he said, I want to get a real writer on this movie. And my writer, this guy, Dean Laurie, who had worked his ass off for 3 years with me at NYU on this script, I was never going to throw my friend under the bus. It's not going to happen. And I said, then I'm not going to sell it to you, Sean, which he couldn't believe I was saying this. And I was like, Sean, fly my buddy out here to LA, put us up in some shitty hotel and have us write for 6 weeks. And if we can't make all the changes you want us to make, then we'll find another writer. But give him the shot. He did. We spent 6 weeks rewriting and we ended up with something that Sean flipped out over. Like, he loved the script. The problem was that we did too well. He liked it too much. So now he was like, oh, I can get real money to make this movie. So we got in a bidding war. And this is very funny how this happened. So, okay. I don't know if you know this, but classically, people in Los Angeles, executives in Los Angeles, do not read screenplays. They just don't. They read nothing. Okay. They read maybe Daily Variety online. That's about it. What they do is they get, assistants who are ostensibly film students who just graduated from USC. They get them to read scripts and then write these little book reports that are about 3 pages long, that are a synopsis of the movie and then an opinion of the film. Okay. If one of those book reports comes out great and they love everything about the thing, the producer or the executive might read the actual, report. Rarely do they read the screenplay. Well, we all knew this about the way Hollywood works, right? This was sort of the way it was. And I said to Sean, I said, well, then why don't we read it for them? And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, look, I've got a great theater background, which Sean also had a great theater background. We had these incredible casting directors who were Broadway casting directors who were working with Sean when he was in New York, but they continued to work with him while he was in Los Angeles. So I said, why don't we put together a table read of the script and invite executives? And we will literally put on like a staged reading for these executives, like give them a show, turn it into something. At this reading, I had 4 Tony Award winning actors reading a script called Johnny Zombie. Okay. Because actors want to act. Like, you tell them, you come in for one night, we're just going to have fun. No one got paid. It was just a thing where we're just doing it. The actors were so excited to do it. And I'm working with these incredible people. By the way, the person who played Johnny in that reading was a guy I'd lived next door to for 3 years in New York, a guy named Adam Sandler.
No way.
So Adam Sandler read the part of Johnny Dingle in Johnny Zombie. And a week after he read that was when he was flown back to New York to start working in Saturday Night Live. True story.
Oh, no.
So, dude, so we had executives from New Line, we had executives from Disney. They got in a bidding war over the movie, which was amazing. Now, I begged Sean to go with New Line. And had he made the movie with New Line, I would have directed the movie because it was a movie I wanted to start with. It was the movie I wanted to be my first film. Yeah, no, Disney was offering 3 times the amount of money. And Sean, of course, went where the money was, which I kept telling him, this is a disastrous idea because Disney is going to neuter this movie. The movie we wrote was a hard R-rated zombie horror comedy musical. So, by the way, if you're tracking that, my favorite films are horror movies, comedies, and musicals. So that was the movie we wanted to make. Sean wanted to make a lot of money. He made money. They ended up making the movie at Disney and they turned it into My Boyfriend's Back. And they neutered it. And it's a sweet movie. It's a cute little movie. And by the way, it's one of Philip Seymour Hoffman's first films. There's, it's incredible cast, wonderful director. Bob Balaban directed the movie. It was an $8.5 million movie. They were never going to let a 21-year-old kid direct that movie for Disney. That was never going to fucking happen. So here's the thing. That's the movie Sean wanted to make. I turned around to Sean and said, okay, I have just made you a boatload of money. You owe me a movie. Give me a movie. And that's when Sean said to me, well, New Line is buying Jason Voorhees from Paramount. If you can figure out a way, quote unquote, to get that fucking hockey mask out of the movie, I'll let you direct it. And I went, okay, great. And then I went, wait, you want me to get the what out of the what? What am I doing? But 3 days later, I gave him a treatment for Jason Goes to Hell, and that was it. We were off and running.
All right. Well, yeah, let's get into that film.
Absolutely.
Right, so before we get into it,
yeah,
obviously, like you said, New Line Cinema had bought Friday the 13th. At the time, am I fair to say that was a big thing?
Oh, yeah. Huge. By the way, they didn't buy Friday the 13th. They bought Jason Voorhees. And this was sort of the noose around my neck because originally I wanted the hero of the movie to be Tommy Jarvis because my favorite Friday the 13th movie is Part 6. My favorite easily is Jason Lives. And I wanted to make a sequel to Jason Lives. That's the movie I love. So I was like, okay, I want it to be about Tommy, who everybody thinks killed Jason Voorhees. Well, he's in his early 20s when he kills Jason Voorhees. Guess what? That's like the guy who ran the touchdown in high school, and that's the biggest moment of his life. And then he just sits at a bar getting drunk, telling people about the touchdown he threw. And I wanted it to be Tommy Jarvis living in Crystal Lake. He's a drunk. He sits at the end of the bar talking about how I got Jason Voorhees. And people are like, yeah, okay, good. What else you do? And suddenly Jason Voorhees comes back. And now he's got to deal with it. Also, he has a kid that he doesn't know exists. He has this girl that he fell in love with, and she got pregnant. And because he's such a shithead, she left. He didn't even know he has a kid. So I wanted to make a movie about Tommy Jarvis kind of falling to the bottom of the barrel, being a loser. And suddenly he gets this opportunity to save his unborn child, save the woman he loves, and finally get rid of Jason Voorhees for good. That was the story I wanted to tell. Problem is that New Line didn't own Tommy Jarvis because they didn't own Friday the 13th. And by the way, they didn't own the title. That's why the movie's called Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, because we couldn't call it Friday the 13th.
Wow. All right, I didn't know that. That's interesting to know.
There you go.
So what was it like working with Cunningham again? Before we get into more questions, like what?
Sure.
I'll get that one out the way.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to get out of the way. Sean is one of the single best line producers I've ever worked with. Meaning, If I needed something on set on a day, it was there. And if it wasn't there, Sean figured out a way to make it work for me. So as a director, needing the things from production to make a movie work, Sean was incredible. Sean was also, the movie was made for very little money. We made it for $2.5 million. And by the way, that's not including the rights. So the rights were $500,000 off the top. So literally, it was $2 million to make this movie. When you look at Jason Goes to Hell and you go, wait a minute, how did you guys have less money than most of the other Friday 13ths? Like, we had way less. It's because Sean is a freaking great producer. Now, as a guy who had been like a father to me growing up, as a guy who was like a mentor and somebody that I adored since I was 9 years old, he couldn't have been a bigger bully and prick. He was horrible to work with. Horrible. Mean-spirited, nasty, barely ever had a good thing to say. Was just not a nice man. That's it, And here's a guy that I really adored, and he was abusive, flat out fucking abusive. So it was not fun working with Sean. Again, he gave me the opportunity to make the movie, which was awesome. I also made him a lot of money. I mean, between My Boyfriend's Back and Friday the 13th, I was making him a ton of money. So he made a lot of money off of me. I worked my ass off, and he produced the hell out of the film. But working with him was not great. It's not great.
Fair enough. That's a fair assumption.
Yeah. Look, by the way, you have to remember, Sean made, the first Friday. That's the only other movie he made. He gets his name on all the other films, and he gets paid for all the other films because he created the first movie. But he really only made part 1 and part 9. He didn't make any of the other ones. His wife cut part 2, which is my second favorite of the franchise. I love part 2. I think it's a great film. And a scary movie. It's like really frightening. The thing about Sean is when they told him they were going to make Friday the 13th part 2, he was like, great. What are we doing? Like, now Sean never saw an idea that John Carpenter had that he didn't want to rip off. Okay. John Carpenter wanted to make stories about Halloween. He didn't want to make Michael Myers movies. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why Halloween 3 is really the only true sequel to the first Halloween, because it's what John Carpenter wanted to do. He wanted to tell scary Halloween stories, right? When it came to Sean wanted to tell stories of the unluckiest day of the year, which, by the way, in a frightening way, his son Noel was born on Friday the 13th.
Oh God.
I mean, you can't make this shit up. Okay. So Sean wanted to make movies about Friday the 13th, and Paramount said, yeah, you remember that kid in the water? He was like, wait, what kid? The little Jason in the water? They're like, yeah, we want to make movies about him. And he was like, the kid died in the 1950s. That's just a dream at the end of the movie. What? He said, I was just ripping off Brian De Palma from Carrie. That's not a movie. And they said, well, we think it's a movie. So that's the guy. Sean went, well, then I'm not fucking directing that. And he went off to direct other things. And he put Steve Miner and his wife on the picture because he wanted some control. But when they came up with Sackhead Jason, Sean's response was, oh, great. The Elephant Man is murdering people at Crystal Lake. Right? So he hated the Sack. When they got to part 3, which also Steve Miner directed, right, which was Sean's protege, Sean's response to The Mask was like, oh, and I thought the Sack was fucking stupid. He's like, a hockey mask? In the middle of summer, you got a guy with a hockey mask. He thought it was so idiotic, he couldn't believe it, okay? When we got to part 9, Sean wanted that mask out of his life because you have to understand, he never made a movie about a guy in a hockey mask, and suddenly the only thing he was allowed to make was movies about a guy in a hockey mask. So for him, he was sort of, you've heard of the man in the iron mask. He was the man in the resin mask. Like, he couldn't get out of that thing. So that's why he said to me, get the fucking hockey mask out of the movie. I hate that damn thing. It's idiotic.
Wow.
Yeah.
When writing the script for this film, was it hard to try something new to the previous films, like just not a straight slasher film?
Yes. Well, look, it was hard in the sense that I kept wanting to go back to Friday 13th stuff. Like I was like, I'm making a Friday 13th movie. I need Friday 13th shit in the movie. Come on. What was great about it, though, is that eventually my brain went to the place, okay, you got 8 movies up to that point. You have one movie with Jason's mom killing people. You have a second movie with Sackhead Jason. And then you've got 6 films with a guy in a hockey mask murdering teenagers. And I went, okay, by the time we get to the end of the franchise, to 7 and 8, literally Paramount's like, okay, part 7 will be Jason versus Carrie. And they made that movie, Jason versus Carrie. Like, that's the movie. Then they were like, okay, part 8, it'll be Jason versus New York. But we can't afford to go to New York, so he'll take a boat ride. Now, by the way, the boat ride, if you take a boat from New Jersey to New York, that's about a 12-minute trip. Okay. These kids are on that thing like they're on a cruise. Okay. It is the stupid. Anybody who lives in the Northeast is like, what? So it's dumb. And it's simply they're running out of ideas. They're like, what can we keep doing with this guy in a hockey mask? What can we do? So what happened when I got Right Jason Goes to Hell is suddenly it was like, hey, there are no rules. Do what you want to do. Like, go crazy. And that's what I did. Like, I was like, okay, we're going to go fucking crazy. And look, my biggest problem with the Friday 13th franchise in general, just so everybody knows, I love this franchise. Like, I saw every movie in the theater multiple times. I was on set for the first one. I worked with Susan Cunningham as an editor, who was the editor of the second movie. Steve Miner gave me all of my film equipment to go to college with. So I knew all these. I love these movies. Right. So, I mean, I love this stuff. Here's the problem, though, with Friday 13th. Okay. At the end of the first movie, Alice is on the water and she is dragged under by an 11-year-old Jason, which means that the kid who got killed in the 50s is still in the swamp, in the water, in the swampy water, still 11 years old. He's still there, right? That's the story you're telling me. The Friday 13th 2 played 2 weeks after Friday 13th Part 1. 2 weeks. Somehow, this 11-year-old child with a hydrocephalic head who has been rotting in a lake for 30 years, that kid has come out of the lake. He's gained 120 pounds of body mass. He found a great set of clothes that suits him. He's learned how to read because the only way you can find people at that time was reading in the telephone book. He's learned how to drive because I don't think he walked through town with his mom's head. And not only that, he's gained a tremendous sense of humor because when he goes to Alice's house to murder her at the beginning of Part 2, he doesn't just walk in the door and kill her. No, he brings his mother's head and hides it in the refrigerator to play peekaboo with Alice. And then he goes and hides. He hides and waits for Alice to go to the kitchen, open up the fridge. Oh my God, it's her head. And then he stabs her in the head. He's like, that's hilarious. Okay, I'm sorry. In 2 weeks, all of that happened? That's dumb, right? By the way, let's forget about the fact that he is torn to pieces in Part 2, 3, and then 4 and dies. Part 5 is just another guy. It's just a dude who by the way has an incredible makeup team that makes his cowl for him when he puts on the Jason mask, so he looks like Jason. Amazing. And he also has a picture of Jason in his wallet. I always wonder, like the newspaper photograph that he has Jason in his wallet, I always go like, who's the guy who took that picture? Is that guy dead? Because did they just find the camera? Because that's a great shot of Jason, but I don't think the photographer lived to tell that tale. By part 6, they literally resurrect Jason Frankenstein's monster-esque, right? And then he fights Carrie and he goes on a boat ride. So the timeline of this series is nuts. And I said, while I go to make Jason Goes to Hell, I go, okay, how do I fix all that? How do I fix this terrible timeline? Because it doesn't make any sense. And because I'm making a movie where I can do anything, I was like, all right, we're going to make Jason something other than human. We're going to give him a backstory finally. If his mom would do anything to resurrect her baby boy, if his mom was just desperate to bring back her Jason, wouldn't she look to the dark arts? Wouldn't she get a Necronomicon and read from it? Why not? Why wouldn't she? And now imagine 11-year-old Jason's at the bottom of Crystal Lake and he opens his eyes for the first time. He's resurrected and he's resurrected through all of this evil, right? But he's terrified. He's this terrified little boy stuck in the bramble and crap sediment of 30 years at the bottom of that lake, right? And in the freezing cold. And one of the first things he sees is he sees his mother lakeside. He sees her through the water. And as his mother is coming towards the water, running towards the water, he then sees this young girl chop his mother's head off. And that girl gets in one of the canoes, goes out into the water, and wouldn't you jump up and try to pull her down and strangle her? But he's an 11-year-old boy. He can't overpower that woman, right? Well, if he is resurrected by the Book of the Dead, well, then it's either a Deadite or a Revenant or some other thing that we've never seen before out of the Book of the Dead. And he can gain 120 pounds. And he can have a brain. And he can learn to read. And he can have a sense of humor. And he can do all the things that we've seen in an Evil Dead movie. So I went, by crossing those streams, suddenly the timeline makes perfect sense. Now all of it works. Jason Goes to Hell is the Rogue One of the Friday the 13th franchise. We're the movie that explains why there's a 3-meter hole in the Death Star that Luke Skywalker can shoot into and blow up the Death Star. Because that makes no sense. When we all saw Star Wars, like, who would put a hole in the Death Star? Like, who would do that? Cut to Rogue One. They explain the whole reason. There it is. Well, that's what Jason Goes to Hell does. We cover the giant hole of how in 2 weeks did that kid become that man. There it is. Yeah,
to be fair, I think, like you just hit there, Rogue One is a very underrated Star Wars film.
It's my second favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, because like just I know they all die at the end, like trying to destroy it all, but it's just the thing that got me was the ending where just the screen went black and then just that red lightsaber came out of nowhere.
Oh, dude. Oh. And you saw Darth Vader being the badass that Darth Vader is. Oh, yeah. My God. The end of that movie, the end of Rogue One is so thrilling, is so extraordinary. And by the way, how cool is it that they made a Star Wars film where people freaking just died? Where it was like, no, your heroes can't live, but they saved everything. Their death is what saved the Empire. They're real rebels. Like, these are actual rebels. I freaking look. It's the Saving Private Ryan of Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And again, not unlike Jason Goes to Hell. I love when filmmakers go, okay, I'm coming into this franchise. Am I going to play it safe and just do the same old and just do the same damn thing again? Or am I going to swing for the fences and tell a new story?
Yeah. Was it hard directing this film?
No. And look, here's the thing. I was 23 when I started directing. 21 when I started writing it. 23 when we started shooting the movie. I think I was too young and too stupid to know how in over my head I was. So I never thought I was. I was like, no, this is my life. This is my job. Of course I'm going to do this. So, here I am with 100 crew people and, 50 actors. And I'm 23. And I was like, yeah, this is my job. Of course I'm going to do this. So I had a moment for day one. I had a moment where I showed up to set with a shot list that was 50 shots long. And my first AD, my cinematographer, and Sean Cunningham came at me like crows and were like, are you out of your mind? You can't get that. You can't even get half that number of shots. What are you, fucking nuts? You're going to lose your job on day one. What is wrong with? And I was like, oh God, oh no, what I do? And I had to reduce my shot list by half. And I ended up with 24 shots for my first day. And Sean Cunningham said, I'll let you try to get 24. He said, you're only going to get 20. That's all you're going to get. By the way, on my first day of shooting, I got 27 shots. 27. My average, Jason to Hell, was 38 shots per day. That's my average. Okay. That is unheard of. But here's the thing. I think we limit artists. I think we limit filmmakers and all artists by telling them what's not possible. I don't believe in any of that shit. Tell me what I can't do and watch me go do it. Because I think if you have passion for something, if you love what you do, everyone around you will find that infectious. And suddenly crew guys who were, look, dude, they were working on a Friday 13th movie. You think they thought, oh, I'm working on Citizen Kane. No. They're like, this is a job. I have a job. I'm glad to have a job. By the time we were on day 3 of that movie, my crew was like, we're making a really fucking cool movie, man. Like, this is going to be good. Because everybody had that feeling of excitement that I had. I was excited. I was making a movie. I was making a real movie. And the joy of that only spreads. If you walk in with joy, everybody will feel that joy. Everybody. So no, I was directing Jason Goes to Hell was hard in that I was shooting a movie that I had very little money to make it with, and I had a ton of effects. I mean, think about it. I've got an effect and a stunt working every single day of that movie. That's crazy. That is a crazy thing. When you look at the number of makeup effects in that film, oh my God. I mean, it is one of the most effects heavy movies of that entire decade. And we did it for no money. But by the way, Bob Kurtzman from KNB and Howard Berger, those two guys, they're still very close friends of mine. Bob Kurtzman's one of my best friends in the world. Dude, they were so excited. They were like kids in a candy shop when we were making that movie. Like, we were all so excited to make the movie. And KNB lost money on that movie. My effects team lost a ton of money on that movie because they got so much for the film, right? They got paid. They all went over budget. And we didn't give them any more money. They took it out of their own money. Oh. Because they were so in love with what we were doing. They're like, fuck it. I just want to make this great. And that's real filmmaking. Like when everybody's that excited and you're having we had a good time. Like, it was fun making the movie. So was it hard technically? Sure. But man, it's one of the happiest 2 months of my life was just like being on that set and doing what I love doing.
All right. With casting Jason, Kane Hodder, obviously in the previous ones, was it an easy pick to go with him, or did you want to cast someone new?
When they brought me the movie, Sean Cunningham said, okay, well, Kane's going to play Jason. And I went, yeah, of course he is. Why would I go anywhere else? And look, if you meet Kane, he's awesome. He's a sweetheart. I mean, he loves this sort of like, oh, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to beat you up. He loves all that bullshit. No, he's a marshmallow. He's like the sweetest guy you could ever meet. And so he was also my stunt coordinator for the. So Kane is one of the guys I work with closest on that film. And no, by the way, I think it's an insane insult that he did not get to play Jason in Freddy versus Jason. I think it's such an insult. Because why is Robert Englund, Robert Englund is to Freddy what Kane Hodder is to Jason, just because you don't see Kane's face does not mean that he hasn't created that character in a way. Look, you know, Kane loves that part, and he lives that part. He's got kill tattooed on the inside of his mouth. You know how much it hurts to get a tattoo on the inside of your mouth? Like,
I do not.
This is right, right? This guy is committed, and he loves what he does. And I think it's disgusting that he didn't get to play Jason in Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, it's a crime, should we say?
Yep. Yeah.
Like through, like you were saying earlier, through all the different films, we've seen different variations of designs of Jason. How hard was it to design like a new like costume for Jason?
Right. So when the first thought that I had was I was supposed to ignore that Part 8 ever happened. New Line, Paramount, and Sean all wanted to forget that Part 8 happened. They all thought it was a bit of an embarrassment. I did not agree with that, but that's how they felt. So I was told, go from Part 7. Well, at the end of Part 7, Jason's at the bottom of the lake. He's back at the bottom of the lake. And he's got the mask on. And I thought, well, it's been so many years that he's been underwater that his skin, his flesh has become like mush. And the mask would slowly embed itself into his face. And I knew that I was never going to unmask Jason. I knew I was never going to pull that mask off, because for me, I always hate when they show Jason's face, because it's stupid. Because it just gets dumber and dumber looking. Now, by the way, the one exception I'll give is Part 7. I think Carl Buechler did an incredible design on Jason's face under the mask. I thought it was amazing. But for the most part, look, when they take off Darth Vader's helmet in Return of the Jedi, like, has there ever been a more disappointing moment when you're like, oh, he's a purple cantaloupe? Like, that's not scary. Like, I'm sorry, Darth Vader's the scariest guy in the world, and he's just a bald old white dude. Who cares? Never show people the face of fear, because then it's no longer scary. That's not frightening anymore. So the idea that the mask was now part of his actual face was I walked in day one to KNB saying, I want to do this. And Bob Kurtzman loved that idea. And they immediately started designing Jason's look. I will tell you, the clothing that's on Jason, I actually think that Jason has too much clothes on in the movie. I think he's too clothed. Because the what we did underneath the clothing, the Jason makeup on his body, we did an entire bodysuit. It is nightmare fuel. Like, it is so hideous, and you don't get to see it in the movie because he's covered in clothing, which I hate. So I personally wish we had torn up those clothes more and really got to see Jason, all that design that the guys did, because the design was incredible.
All right. Just going back to the mask bit. When you said about Darth Vader, like unmasking and seeing the face of it, what's your opinion on the Blumhouse Halloween trilogy, where, considering Michael Myers is meant to be this absolute powerhouse, like the amount of times that everyone takes off his mask, like what? Because like that mask is like a staple; it's never meant to come off.
Here's the thing. Okay, I feel this way about most franchises. So let's not even. I'm not just going to pick on Halloween, which is a very easy thing to pick on. I think that the big mistake in franchise filmmaking is that all of these movies, whether it's Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, all of these, the first couple of movies are scary, really scary. It's why they became hits. Okay. You walk into Nightmare on Elm Street and you are not cheering for Freddy. You are terrified for Nancy. You are terrified for all those kids. There is a monster coming for them, and it is scary as fuck. Okay. Friday 13th is a scary movie. The first one, it's a little dull at this point. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a long movie with very little happens. Friday 13th Part 2 is a masterpiece, and it is terrifying. When that guy in the wheelchair gets the fucking machete to the face and goes backwards down that, I mean, oh my God. When Ginny is trapped with Jason at the end of the movie, you are terrified for Ginny. You're not cheering for Jason. By the part 3 of all these movies, part 3 is the real bad turn, because here's what happens. We stop caring about the heroes. Now we're only there to see the villain. So the villain becomes the hero of these movies. Guess what? They're not horror movies anymore. Now they're roller coaster rides. And all we're waiting for is, ooh, how are they going to kill that person? And I will tell you, when studios make these movies, they go out of their way to make everybody in the movie an asshole or not likable. They try to make these characters wooden and terrible so that you're cheering for them to die. You want them to die. You just want to see how cool the death is going to be. To me, that's antithetical to making a good horror movie. One of the reasons Jason Goes to Hell, for me, one of the reasons I did it the way I did it, and why I didn't show the face of fear, is I wanted people to be frightened. And the idea of, you don't know where Jason's going to be. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Thing. I love that film. I love it. I adore it. I loved it the day I saw it when I was a kid. That movie is so terrifying because you don't know where the thing is. I wanted that for Jason Goes to Hell. I wanted this idea of who goes there, who has it, who is Jason. That makes him scary again. So I think that the Blumhouse Halloween movies, look, I thought the initial idea of Jamie Lee Curtis didn't die, that we're going to retcon, the other Halloween movies, of which there are so many, and so many timelines. My God, there's so many timelines. I thought the idea of, okay, Jamie Lee Curtis's character is still alive, right? Laurie Strode is still there. For whatever reason, she can't get over the events of that night. She's plagued by it. And she becomes somewhat of a survivalist. Okay, cool. Michael Myers somehow gets out of his cage and comes for her. Great. Okay. I will buy that movie. I'll buy it. I'm not crazy about the magical thinking in Halloween 2018, because suddenly Michael Myers is everywhere. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And somehow, for some reason, they're letting people into the psych ward to hold masks and go, Michael. No, they're not. So there's logic things that I just go, okay, can everything make a little sense? Just a little bit of sense. But do I find Halloween 2018 brutal? Yes. Do I love the scene where just going through house by house and just fucking murdering? Yes, that's great. And it's scary. Like, that's actually scary. Do I think that a teenage girl calling her grandmother is weird dialogue and stuff that I go, are these real people? Like, I don't answer the phone and go, hello, grandmother, because no one does that. Like, no one's ever done that. I don't think there's a moment in the book Little Women when someone goes, oh, grandmother. No, it doesn't happen. And so I think that there is, I think there's something about that movie in particular that has a little bit of a falseness to it. But I do have to say, I get it. Like, I get that movie. I get it. When it comes to the last two films, I think the term, my mama always said, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. I think that applies.
To be fair, out of them three films, like the 2018 one, I love more than
right.
I mean, Halloween Kills. The brutality's there, where he comes out of the house and he kills all the fire team like brutally. That scene, like, just
it's great
for visual effects, like
Right, but why is it? First off, I mean, it's good that evil dies tonight. But why is it that the whole town mistakes a 5'4" dude as Michael? And also, hasn't anybody learned, like, don't hang out around Michael Myers, even if you think you killed him? Don't hang out. Don't stand around him because you probably haven't killed him. And why would Judy Greer go back to the house? There's so many choices that you just go, you gave me characters and then you made them act like morons. Don't give me characters I care about and then betray the characters you created. Again, look, there are people who hate Jason Goes to Hell. Like, that is like their sport. Like, their favorite pastime is hating on Jason Goes to Hell. And that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. What you can't say about Jason Goes to Hell is that the acting is inconsistent. The acting is great in that movie. The makeup effects are great in that movie. The staging of the movie is pretty badass and very different show me another movie that has a scene like the diner fight. That diner massacre is fucking badass. Show me a Friday 13th that has a better kill than the girl split up the middle in the tent. Show me another Friday 13th movie that has something like The Melting Man. For fuck's sake. Like, that is insane stuff. And you can't say that any character in the movie acts against their own best interest. None of those characters act antithetical to who they are as people, including, there's that scene where Steven kidnaps Jessica, throws her in the car, runs over her boyfriend, Robert, who is Jason, and then takes her out in the middle of the road and tries to explain to her what happened. And Jessica's response is she beats the shit out of this guy, throws him out the car and says, "You think I'm going to let you near my baby? You killed my mother. Fuck you, you crazy person." And she drives away. That's what a normal person would do. So everybody in the movie acts like their character. When you look at something like Halloween Kills, you go, wait, I'm on board with everything you're doing. Like, give it to me. But why does everybody keep acting like a moron? And by the way, I will tell you this. And I've been there. I've been there in the rooms when they write this stuff. Too many people, especially people who don't love horror, who are not horror aficionados. And let's be honest, the team between Halloween Kills, they are all very talented filmmakers. They did not make horror movies. They came to horror because that's where the money was. That's where the money is. And that what they did was they wrote characters and went, oh, the kids won't give a shit. They just want to see blood. No. Horror audiences are some of the smartest audiences you can find for films. They're the people who remember and understand the motivations of every character in an entire franchise. They know the whole world of the franchise. I hate it when filmmakers take the horror audience for granted or treat them like idiots. We are not idiots. We see through your shit quick. And yes, it's fun to watch brutal kills. I love brutal kills. Give it to me. But you better have characters that act in a way that makes sense, that makes me care. And they got to be consistent.
Yeah, that's like a good thing you hit on there with the fandom and the horror community.
Yeah.
Like, if they watch a film and, like you said, they can see straight through it and they'll just rip, through that film, the characters apart.
You bet.
Yeah.
I completely get that. There are horror films out there that I'm not a big fan of that I still go, yeah, but it's a really good movie. Like, I get what they made. It's not my cup of tea, but I love what they did. For example, when and these are movies that I love, by the way, but The Witch, right? When The Witch came out, it was very divisive, right? People were on either side of the fence on that movie. And I loved the movie. And there were people who just wanted to talk about, oh, it's a piece of shit and it's boring and I don't get it. Great, that's fine. But you can't look at the movie The Witch and say, this is badly made, or this doesn't have dramatic tension, or this isn't a well-told story. You can say it's not for me. It's not something I enjoy, but you have to go, no. But the filmmakers here did a really good job. The Babadook is another one that like people freaking hate that movie. I love that film. I understand someone going, I don't like this. It's not my thing. That kid screams too much. I'm annoyed. I don't want, great. But you can't look at that movie and say, this is a badly made movie. No, it's well written. It's well structured. It's a well shot movie. It doesn't have to be your taste. And that's the thing. I wish more horror fans would stop going, oh, that thing's a piece of shit, whatever it is. And actually say, you know what? It's not for me. That said, I can see why people love it because it has all these things that make people really happy and that gets what they look. I'm not a fan of the Terrifier movies. I don't get it. I've
only seen number 3, and
oh Jesus, I'm sorry. Wow. You jumped into the deep end of that fucking pool, my man. But I will tell you, I don't begrudge anybody their enjoyment of those films. If your bag is watching people torn to pieces for no good reason, fuck yeah, that's your movie. That's your movie. The effects are brilliantly done, and I get Art the Clown being creepy and all that stuff. I can't find a character to root for. That's my problem. Like I want to have a hero that I give a shit about. And you know what else is fun? When somebody brings a story to a movie. I like that. I like when there's a story. That said, I don't begrudge anybody their love of that movie. Like have fun, man. If that's what you love, that only makes the horror genre better because you're bringing your love to that piece. And that movie making money means they're going to make more horror movies. Fuck yeah.
I know. Like recently, I did a live stream with someone. We did our top 10 werewolf ranking films. So obviously, number 1 was for me. It was An American Werewolf in London.
It's a masterpiece. It's a perfect
like movie. That film will like, especially with the hand the. That will never be topped ever.
Never.
Like considering like it was done in the 80s, like the visual effects on that and the werewolf look in itself is just like.
Dude, it's the first time that there was they created an Academy Award for makeup effects because of that movie.
Yeah, just the beginning, like the first 10 minutes of that film just set. Like,
dude.
They're going to the slaughtered lamb, and it's just that atmosphere of like all the locals. It's just like
it is a true masterpiece, and it's actually kind of a shame that so many people don't really talk about that movie anymore because it is perfect construction, it's fantastic performances, and it's the best makeup effects. Look. That period of time, what Rick Baker was doing and what Rob Bottin was doing, those two artists, just those two guys in that period of time, we've never had makeup effects that top anything those guys did.
Yeah, just like that was number 1. But my number 2, which for me, like it is number 2 because like I just hear no one ever talk about it, is Jack Nicholson's Wolf.
Okay, good. Wow, that's really cool. Good for you.
That felt because like it's just whenever I explain it to someone if they've never seen it, I always say it's a slow burning film.
Yes, it is.
It is a proper slow burner, but the end payoff with the fight in James Spade is the bad werewolf. Like just that because like when where you see his eyes like 10, like, and then he kills all them muggers in the alleyway.
Yep.
And then when you realise James Spade is the bad well because of his eyes in the police station, and then he's slowly turning, and then like they both clash at the end. It's just like every time I watch it, like I watch it every year, no matter what.
I love that, man. That's awesome. By the way, I mean we are talking. You're talking about one of the best filmmakers of the 20th century. I mean, Mike Nichols, truly one of the best filmmakers of the century. And again, that's his only horror movie. That's the only one he ever made.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is the guy who directed, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I mean, Wolf is in the title, but it has nothing to do with it. And this man was like one of the great dramatists of the last, 3/4 of a century. And he really wanted to tell a scary story. And dude, I think it's awesome that you're waving the flag for that movie. I think that's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, I got like, when it comes to like werewolf, them two are my like top two. But like, I don't know. I watched it when did it come out? 94. So
Yeah.
I was what? Because like it was on like Sky, like in the UK back then, you only had like 2 Sky movie channels.
Right. Right.
Compared to now. But
Yeah.
I was what? So 4. I was 7 when I watched it. so like the one thing that's always made me scared of that film
Yes.
is the eyes.
Yeah.
That like give me full werewolf, not a problem. But when he's like in human form and like you can slowly see him turning with his eyes.
Absolutely.
And Michelle Pfeiffer realizes that James Spader is.
And Michelle Pfeiffer is so good in that film. Oh my God, she's so good in that film.
Yeah, but yeah, I love, and then the end payoff where it's
awesome.
Both fight. He's like he rips off the amulet and yeah.
For me, I'm a huge fan of Dog Soldiers. Love that film.
I only live considering like they're all from like Newcastle. I only live like an hour away from Newcastle. So it's like this is pure born.
Yep. I love that film. Look, I'm a huge fan of The Howling, and I think the effects in The Howling are extraordinary. Again, Rob Bottin. I think that look, I also think Ginger Snaps is amazing. It's a great movie. Great movie.
Them are all on my rank, like top 10 ranking film.
Yeah, dude, because they're all great movies. They're great. By the way, you've seen Curse of the Werewolf, I'm sure, right? The Oliver Reed Hammer movie, right?
I have not.
Oh, dude. Okay, well, then this is my gift to you.
Because I've got the burning written down. Hang on.
Curse of the Werewolf. It's Oliver Reed. It's Hammer Pictures. It's mid 60s. Or early 60s. It's an amazing movie. It's creaky, it's an older film, but man, is it good. And Oliver Reed is incredible in the movie. Oh my God, so good. So good.
Right, that is a film that I need to watch.
Yeah.
Just going back there to Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
The reason why there's a thing where they're all on about the England versus Germany match, and England won 5-1. The thing that always makes me remember that score is because when that match happened, like all my family were at a wedding and everyone was fuming that they never got to watch that match.
That's awesome. I love it, man. That's fucking great. That's great.
But yeah, that's so you could imagine like England v Germany. When that score came through, everyone was fuming because of the wedding.
It's great. It's great.
Right. Back on topic with the film.
Sure.
Right. Was it your idea to put the family bloodline into this film?
Yes.
Like
100%.
What was like the idea surrounding like what made you put that in?
Originally, there was going to be another villain in the movie, not just Jason. It was Jason's brother Elias. And there was a whole thing about the mother's love for Jason versus his older brother. And so that's where the story started initially. So the whole bloodline thing, the whole thing about family was really interesting to me. And look, I also knew, I was told this was going to be the last Friday the 13th movie. And, after this, they were going to do other things with the character. I'm like, great. So I went, all right, the first movie is about a mother who loses her son, and it will do anything to get her son. So it's about a mom losing her child. The last movie, I wanted it to be about a father finding his daughter. So you got this perfect arc for the series, right? So for me, everything was about family because the first movie is about family. It's about a mom and her child who she lost, and she's murdering because of the loss of that child. So family had to be part of the story. And so that's why it started that way.
Well, that's fair enough. No, there was we mentioned, like you mentioned this before, but there were some cameos in this film with the Evil Dead book. Like, how did I think you pretty much explained it earlier on, because it was a fair spot for me when I rewatched it the other day. So I was like, is that what I think it is? I was like, but now you've explained it, because like I went online and like I seen all these theories about the book and like, did Jason Voorhees' mom Pamela make a deal with the devil to bring Jason back and everything? But like, just to hear you explain that, I was like,
well, by the way, I mean, the thing that they killed Jason with is the Kandarian dagger, which is also from Evil Dead. So the way to kill the Evil Dead is the Kandarian dagger. That's how you're killing Jason. I mean, it's right in front of you. Like, I didn't hide it. It's right there. And by the way, I got that Necronomicon from Sam Raimi. He gave it to me. So I was on the set of Army of Darkness for a few days with the K&B guys. And I asked to go out there with them. One, I wanted to meet Sam because he's a hero of mine. And two, I was like, I want to see if he'll give me one of the Necronomicons from a movie. And I told him what I wanted to do. And Sam was like, hey, buddy, that's a great idea. Sure. And he literally handed me a Necronomicon in a Ziploc bag. Just handed it to me. Like, there you go. And that's what we shot with. So it wasn't even like, I mean, I went to Sam to get it. Like, I was very intentional about what I was doing with that movie. So yeah, there's a ton of cameos from different genre favorites throughout the movie.
Well, again, another surprise cameo at the end with the Freddy Krueger glove that rips the mask down. Right, hang on, let me just go through my question. With him making that cameo, were you teasing the ultimate crossover? Like, I know we got Freddy versus Jason later on down the line, but was it
10 years later? Yeah.
Was that something that you were wanting to make?
No, here's okay. So here's what happened. We had been, I'd been filling the movie with all of these little Easter eggs for the audience, like the crate from Creepshow is in the basement. I had the jungle gym from The Birds is what they fight over in the last act of the movie. I had tons of these. Anywhere I could put something, I put it in there. My favorite, by the way, of all the things, and it's something you're not going to know because no one ever writes about this. It's crazy.
Okay.
So when I was shooting the movie, and I will go back to the Freddy versus Jason thing in a second. When I was shooting the movie, I had a script supervisor who I had hired for the movie, a woman named Harry James. Harry was this beautiful, funny, smart-ass lady, just extraordinary. So Harry was my script supervisor, but after I had met her and we were hanging out for a while, I looked at her and I was like, Harry, why do I know your face? Like, I really know you. And I said, were you an actor? And she's like, yeah, I'm an actor. And I suddenly went, oh my God, you're in Die Hard. You're in the movie Die Hard. You're the cop at the dispatch station when John McClane calls from the top of Nakatomi Plaza. You're the one who gets on the headset and says, sir, you can't use this channel. If you need 911, please get off the line and call. I was like, that's you. She was like, oh my God, how did you recognize me? I said, that's my brain. Like, I knew I knew you. So I said, Harry, if I get you a police costume, will you recreate that character for me? Will you play the same character in Jason Goes to Hell that you played in Die Hard? And the idea being that you left LA because it was so violent and ended up at Crystal Lake. And she was like, oh my God, you're going to put me in the movie? I said, I'm putting you in the movie right now. She is in the movie. Oh, when Jessica first arrives to the police station and is being brought to see Sheriff Landis, by the way, Sheriff Landis, when she's being brought in to do that, she is being brought in by Harry James, who is literally dressed as her character from Die Hard and is holding a coffee cup that says Coffee from Hell, which I gave her on set because I thought it would be funny, since the movie is going to be called Jason Goes to Hell, that she had this hell mug as she was taking her down the hall. But that is the woman from Die Hard who has now been moved to Crystal Lake. So that is my favorite of all of the little in jokes that I put in there, because barely anyone ever knows it, but there she is right in the movie.
Wow.
So when it came to the glove, I was hanging out. We were shooting. We were already deep in the movie. And I was hanging out with my two roommates, Dean Laurie, who I wrote the script with, and Noel Cunningham, Sean's son, who was a second assistant editor on the film. And we're all hanging out in our apartment, and my two roommates were getting stoned to the bejesus. I don't drink or smoke weed or do any drugs. I never have. But they were getting high as fuck. So I was like, cool, do your thing. And we're all laughing about like all the shit I'm putting in the movie, right? So we're like joking about it. And I suddenly went, wait a second. Doesn't New Line own Freddie outright? And they were like, yeah, I think so, because it's called the house that Freddie built, New Line. And I said, they just killed Freddie because they made Freddie's dead. Huh. I wonder if I can get New Line to let me have Freddie drag Jason to hell at the end of the movie. And the guys were like, oh, that is badass. Like, that's a great fucking idea. So I call my executives from New Line, and this is middle of the night. I called them up. It's like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, guys, can I have the Freddie's glove and Robert's laugh for the end of the movie? And they were like, what do you want it for? And I pitched them what I wanted to do at the end of the film. They could not have gotten me that glove faster. They were so excited about doing this. Now, by the way, I didn't know they were going to make Freddy versus Jason. The executives at New Line knew they were making Freddy versus Jason, but I didn't know that. And so I came up with this idea that made them so excited and happy. And that's how it ended up in the film. But I did not do it because of Freddy versus Jason at all.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Okay. Right, so you came back for Crystal Lake Memories and His Name is Jason documentaries. What has it been like to reminisce like in them?
Okay, so I came back for the documentary His Name Was Jason. I did not come back for Crystal Lake Memories. So this is something that really has bothered me for years. Crystal Lake Memories, they never reached out to me for an interview. Never. What they did was they took repurposed material from His Name Was Jason and just cut it into the movie. So I never, even though there were years and years that passed between those two films, I was never approached for another interview. So Crystal Lake Memories for me is a faulty documentary because I don't know one person from my cast or crew that was asked to do anything for that doc. So Crystal Lake Memories is this like amazing sprawling documentary. It's so huge. They spent about 20 minutes on Jason Goes to Hell. It's treated like the idiot's child. And I hate that that's the way they did it, because I go like, guys, you know what? You can have an opinion of the movie, but you're a documentary. You need to document this series in a way that's fair, that lets the artists who made these movies have a say. It's part of the reason why I decided to make Hearts of Darkness, The Making of the Final Friday. That's why I'm doing it, because I was like, no, this movie needs its fair shake for people to understand why we did what we did and how we did it.
Yeah, that was my next question. Doing Hearts of Darkness, how long did that take to get done?
So I had been asked for years to make a documentary about the movie. I didn't want to do it because I have a career. I'm doing other movies. I've done a lot of other stuff. And yes, will I always be known as Adam Jason Goes to Hell Marcus? Of course I will. And that's great. I'm thrilled. But my career is about other movies now and other things that I'm doing. And so I didn't want to revisit it. But there were two guys, a guy named TJ Bowser and a guy named Corey Kaufman, who were super fans of Jason Goes to Hell. And for my birthday in 2019, they made a Facebook page called Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Fan Page. And I thought it was really sweet. They did it for my birthday. I was like, oh, that's really nice, guys. Thank you. That's very sweet. And I thought there'd be like a dozen people talking about the movie on this little page and be whatever. Within a couple of days, it had thousands of members.
Wow.
And I was like, what just happened? Like, it was crazy. So all of a sudden, all of these people start begging me for a documentary. By the way, it's the reason these two guys made the page, because they wanted me to make a documentary of the movie, and now they pushed me into it. So I said, okay, I'll make a documentary. I'll do it. And I will not get paid a dime, and I will give my time freely. But my company is not going to pay to make this doc. So I'll put it on Indiegogo. If the fans want it, they'll pay for the movie, and I will make the movie. I won't take a salary. I won't take $1 from that money, but I will make the movie. And I put it on Indiegogo, and we got funded so quickly, it was ridiculous. Like it was and I was like, oh shit, now I got to go make this thing. So we finished funding the movie in December of 2019. By February 1st of 2020, we were shooting the movie. So we only had a month of pre-production and we were in, right? By the end of that month, we had 30 people in the camera. Like we had 30 people that we were done. Like, and I was like, I thought it was going to take a year and we'd be finished with the movie. And then March 2020, the world shut down. And I live in Los Angeles. Now, the rest of, the rest of the United States did not do what LA did, but LA did it. We were shut down for 2.5 years. We weren't shut down for 6 months. We weren't shut down for a year. 2.5 years we were shut down. Yes. It's unbelievable. They even let us out at one point and then had us go back because it was a rise in COVID. They were like, no, go back home. So I was shooting this movie in people's homes. Like when we're shooting Kane Hodder, we're in his house. When we're shooting Stephen Williams, we're in Stephen Williams' house. I wanted people to feel completely at ease. I wanted people to say whatever they wanted to say, good or bad. I wanted the truth. And so I didn't put them in front of a fucking green screen so I could put a picture of Jason behind them. Screw that. Like, let's make a real movie. Let's make a movie that's actually about these people, not just shoving images at you that you've seen a million times before. And so, dude, not only that, 2.5 years in, we fired our director.
Oh,
yeah. And by the way, look, no harm, no foul. He didn't have a vision for the movie. He really didn't know the movie he wanted to make. And I needed someone who knew what they wanted out of the movie. So it was a creative difference, which was fine. We parted ways. And I ended up with a brilliant documentarian taking the helm of this movie. And I got Michael Felsher, who's made over 400 documentaries. He was the personal documentarian of George Romero for the last 15 years of George's life. I mean, this guy is like, he's a badass. And he came on board, told me what he wanted the movie to be. He interviewed for it, told me the movie he wanted to make. And I went, yes, please. And next thing I know, I'm making a movie with a guy that I love, that I have tremendous respect for, who's now a very close friend. And yeah, this movie took 6 years to make. 6 years. Yep. That said, the movie we made, which by the way, there's the poster of it behind me. That's the poster of the movie. The movie we made, I could not be more proud of. It is such a good film, and I got to tell you, not only did I get Michael Felsher to direct, but my best friend since we were 14 years old, a guy named Eric Beetner, who has been nominated for the Emmy 10 times for his editing on The Amazing Race. This guy cut the movie. And again, my best friend since we were 14. And this movie is like this personal journey of not just about Jason Goes to Hell, not just about horror movies, but about filmmaking and about what it means to be a filmmaker and what you're willing to do to achieve your dreams. It's a really special movie. It's a really cool film. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good to know. It's good to know that you finally got your story out there.
Yes.
I think that's probably the more important thing, that everyone knows the full.
Yep. And by the way, the film itself, we started. By the way, we started our journey in the UK. The first screening of the film, its worldwide premiere, was at Fright Fest Glasgow. Fright Fest are like family to me. I love those dudes. Oh my God, Alan Jones is he's like the uncle I always wished I had. He's amazing. And so we premiered there to a packed screening. It was unbelievable. Oh my God, it was such a beautiful night. And then we're about to show at Dublin Horrorthon at the end of October. So we're going to be there on the 24th. They're showing Jason Goes to Hell and the documentary back to back, which is so exciting. This movie, the film itself, the feature, is about 110 minutes long, so just under 2 hours. But the disc of the movie, the physical media, is 4.5 hours long. So it's longer than Crystal Lake Memories, about one movie. It's crazy. It's crazy, dude. It's so exciting. Like the disc, like I love the movie. The disc is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's unreal how good it is. Yeah, it's nuts.
Right. Lastly, real quick, what was it like creating the story for Texas Chainsaw?
It's a very long story. I will give you the very short version of that insanely long story. Okay. Look, I was so thrilled to get that job. Like I was so excited. And the script that Deborah and I wrote, our movie, we wrote a $20 million film. The producer ended up making an $8.5 million movie. So that tells you immediately like what happened to our script. When we finished the first draft of that screenplay, Toby Hooper himself called us at home and said to me, "I've just read your screenplay. It's fantastic. I want to tell you, you've made the first true sequel to my original film." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I said, "Toby, but you made Texas Chainsaw 2. And he goes, "Again, you've written the first true sequel to my original film." I turned to my wife, who I'd written the film with, and I just said, "You didn't put me in a box. I'm done. Like I've achieved everything I wanted to achieve in my lifetime." I loved writing that film. The screenplay of that movie was incredible because it gave me, dude, Deb and I booked 4 other movies because of that film. We wrote 4 other films because of that movie. We wrote a Cabin Fever sequel that is one of the favorite things we've ever written because of Texas Chainsaw. So I love that movie. Here's the problem. When they make a movie, the writers are rarely consulted because they again, not unlike what I was saying about Halloween earlier, they hired a director who had never made a horror movie, who wasn't interested in horror movies. He was interested in making money. And so my wife and I never wrote the line, "Do your thing, cuz." We also did not write a character who came from Chicago coming to Texas, who then says to someone from Texas, "Welcome to Texas, motherfucker." No, we never wrote that. We didn't write that. We didn't write a scene about a smartphone because the movie takes place in 1993, not in 2007 when smartphones were invented. So there are things in the movie that don't make any fucking sense. And by the way, I think they made a good movie. I like that movie. I really do. I think it's a cool movie. But I got to tell you, like as a writer, like we sat in the theater like, what is happening? Because they just didn't adhere to what was a better story about the Texas Chainsaw family. And that's what the fans want. Like, I'm a fan. I'm the ultimate horror fan. I love my genre. And when I write something or I direct something, I make it the way a horror fan wants. Like I write the movie that I want to see desperately. And so often producers or directors that are not myself, they change things just because they want to, or they don't like that thing, or they don't get it. But usually they're not horror fans. And that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking, because we're writing movies for horror fans. I don't understand someone who doesn't like horror being in charge of movies that are made for horror fans. I don't get it.
Yeah, I completely understand. I mean, like, I'm no writer or anything like that, but like I did, because like I love horror, and
yeah,
I mean, I did come up with an idea. I'll throw a pitch you a little idea that
please do.
So I mean, I thought about this years and years ago, but like I never fully like written everything down. But it was like a little, I don't know what you could call it, like a little mini TV series. It was called The Loch. Do you know like the mysterious, like the Loch Ness?
Oh, sure, sure.
But but in that glen, that like the valley that it, like the little town that it's got.
Yep.
My story was like there was this man. He comes home and his wife's being murdered. But and then the husband gets blamed for that murder, and he is driven out of that town. But then like like he got acquitted, like to say that he didn't get like murder, but the town blames him for that murder. Like he got acquitted from that murder, but the town blames him for it.
Yep.
And then like years later, after he's got over the guilt of his wife being murdered, he heads back into that village to prove his innocence. But then as he starts like trying to research like everything that happened, like he starts going down a deeper rabbit hole of like the full town that believes that the Loch Ness is real. And like then like they want to keep the mystery secret. And then like he starts unraveling like loads of secrets, and like then it like leads to his wife's murder. And
I think it sounds great.
Yeah, but
I think it sounds great. I mean, why don't you write it?
I don't know. But the tagline was like just say like a book cover. It was like like a wooden dock, like a rickety wooden dock leading out onto the loch. And like then you've got the loch water and like all the mist. And then like just think of like big bold letters of the loch like slowly coming out of the mist. And like the bloke stood there on the end of the pier looking at it. And the tagline would be, everyone's got secrets and everyone's got a story to tell. And this is my secret and my story. So something along them lines.
Dude, I think it sounds amazing, Lonnie. I think you should write it.
I don't know.
By the way, write it as a book. It's much easier to get a movie made from a book than it is from an original screenplay. Much easier.
Yeah, I was thinking that was like a book cover type deal.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, just like an unraveling mystery of like everyone's telling secrets that lead to his wife's murder, and trying to keep the loch secret from all the travelers coming in and keeping it real and everything else.
Absolutely, dude. I dig it. I dig everything about that. I think it sounds great.
But yeah. Well, anyway, that comes to the end of our interview.
Awesome.
I've pitched my idea. You can Hollywood it up, whatever you want to do.
I dig it.
But no, but look, listen. Thank you so much for coming on. It means the world to me. I've found out so much about this film you don't even know.
I dig it. By the way, look for it. It's coming out on Synapse Blu-ray, and it's going to be through Michael Felsher's own line, which is Red Shirt Releasing through Synapse. So that's going to be worldwide release. And the disc is incredible. Like I really want people to take a look at this thing. And it's you want to see the 4.5 hour version. You don't want to just see the 110 minutes. The 110 minutes is great, but there's so much more to the story. And the only way people are going to be able to see it is on physical media, at least for 6 months to a year, because I'm not going to streaming. We're holding off because streaming is killing our industry. If we want independent horror films, people need to go back to physical media, because otherwise we're not going to have them anymore because we can't afford to make them.
Do you know what, right? Before we go, that's one thing I always make a point of. buy physical media. I know everyone like loves to stream on apps and everything, but like everyone has a go at me for still because like I still like have loads of VHS. I love my VHS. And,
Dude,
like,
we're and by the way, we're releasing on VHS as well.
Oh,
retro video.
I still have 2 VHS players. I love collecting DVDs still. But like everyone like goes, oh, it's so old, like collecting VHS and DVD. I was like, yeah, but what if you're like one day your internet goes off?
That's right. That's right, dude.
You've got to, what are you gonna do?
I have in this house, in the place where I'm coming to you from, I have 17,000 movies in this house.
Oh, I don't have that many.
but by the way, and I paid for every single one of those because here's the thing. I believe in paying artists for their work. This is a thing we have to start doing again. Otherwise, we will have no artists because people can't make a living. It's super important. And everybody who's stealing movies online and downloading shit from Russian bots and all that stuff, it kill. Dude, my movie Secret Santa, before the film came out on Blu-ray, the movie had been stolen over 1 million times.
Oh.
1 million views that I did not get paid for.
That's brutal.
That's our industry right now. And we have to stop it. We have to. Otherwise, there will just not be any more independent film. Just won't happen. Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah.
Well, look. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I've had an absolute blast. It's so nice that you got back to me straight away and
of course,
like took time out your day and everything to talk to me. So thank you again for asking all my questions. And that is it. That is my full interview with Adam Marcus. I would like to thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. And there we have it. That was my full interview with Adam Marcus. I hope everyone who has watched and who is going to watch, I hope you all find as much information like new that I have found. As always, I'm Antwood Movie Mania. Please look forward to more horror interviews and more videos coming out. As always, I'm Antwood Movie Mania. Please leave your likes, your comments, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. See you later.